The National Judicial Council, under the chairmanship of Justice Walter Onoren, has considered the case of 8 judicial officers who were directed to recuse themselves from duties on the request of the Attorney General of the Federation, pending the outcome of investigations against them.
In order to maintain the integrity and sanctity of the judiciary and also sustain public confidence, 3 of the 8 who were stopped from performing their official duties have been charged to court. In view of the foregoing, Council decided that the various heads of court should direct the following 6 other judicial officers to resume their judicial duties with effect from June the 7th, as there are already backlog of cases in their various courts for the past 8 months.
Now, the decision of the council is with immediate effect. Okay, joining us now is a lawyer, Barrister Liborous Oshomah. He has been following these issues as well. He's been on ground all the while. Liborous, good morning.
Good morning.
You're right. Now, with this development now, is it to say that there is no more case against them, or they should resume pending when investigation or issues of going to court will be handled, or they'll be charged to court?
To answer your question directly, they've been asked to resume pending when the Attorney General is ready to charge them, if prima facie case is established against them. And so, rather than, just keep them away from their, duties indefinitely, it's the council decided that, look, Attorney General asked for time within which to charge them. And also, we're all aware that you don't arrest somebody and then go fishing for evidence. You fish for evidence, then arrest, and you must charge within a specific time. And so 8 months, to any reasonable man, it's more than enough time within which the Attorney General ought to have charged them if truly there were any, evidence against them. And so in the light of that, I mind you also, these were people who ordinarily were, had matters, were handling matters in their court. And for the time being, when they were out of office, cases in those courts, will suffer, adjournments. And here we are complaining that the windmill of justice grinds slowly here. And so to just allow them, sit at home when there is no case against them, would also be injustice.
So does it highlight what the Constitution say when you're talking about the mandate of the NJC, Section 153, and of course that it is their duty really to do this investigation. It is their duty really to recommend sanction if there's need for the judges to be sanctioned, instead of the Attorney General and the DSS usurping that particular...
You see, when this started, some of us, did advise that the Attorney General and the Office of the DSS ought to have collaborated with the NJC, that is statutorily empowered to investigate and discipline judges. And so, with what the DSS did at that time, what the NJC would simply do would be to fold their hands, since another agency of government had taken the lead and is conducting investigation. What they would simply do would be to fold their hands and allow the course of justice, to run. So this is not a matter for the NJC. Was a matter for the DSS and the Attorney General's office. If it was the NJC that had investigated, it would have been easy for the NJC. Immediately they conclude the investigation, what they do would be to suspend such judges or recommend their dismissal, and then now recommend prosecution. If you remember the case of 3 judges dismissed by the NJC, one was recommended for prosecution. And so, but being that it's a different agency of government that was conducting, the investigation, the NJC simply had to, fold their hands and wait for their outcome.
Give them a long rope to hang themselves.
And the Attorney General actually asked for time within which. But from what we see now, it is obvious that what the government basically was doing was, arrest first and then fish for evidence. In other crimes, the judges by now ought to have been asking for apologies from government also. That took
the next question out of my mouth, really. Shouldn't they be appeased or appealed to in a case like this? Yeah, they've been embarrassed.
I think really, if you after such public show the event that happened. Nigerians condemned the judges, called them names. The DSS said, look, it was a sting operation, it was successful, incriminating documents and money were found in
and
their...
so much amount of money were found,
in their houses. And one would have expected that, 1 week after, the matter ought to have been in court. Apart from, two of the judges, Ademola and Justice Nguta, the rest, it was as if the DSS or the Attorney General's office were busy fishing for evidence, or that the DSS furnished the Attorney General's office with the evidence that they have, and the Attorney General's office felt they were not substantial enough to grant conviction or even to grant to prosecute. And so to that extent, they decided to ask for more time from the NJC. We all asked that the judges be, asked to excuse themselves or recuse themselves from office, but also in the same vein, after this time, so that also not to encourage injustice and impunity, because if you allow it to happen, what people will basically do is tomorrow I can just say, oh, Mike is corrupt. He should be asked to recuse himself from office. He's
only citing an instance.
And the entire world court of public opinion will condemn you.
Oh, sure.
Meanwhile, the court of justice or the court of law, there is no prima facie case against you. And so this is what had played out.
And the Nigerian Bar Association several times has called for the reform of the anti-graft agency. But earlier in April, we had Liborous Oshomah. He's here today on the show regarding the arrest of judges on allegations of corruption by the EFCC. And this is what he said that time.
People should understand also that prosecution starts from investigation. A lot of people miss that point. They just think that, once there is public outcry, in the media, ND stole, and so that amounts to a prima facie case in court. That's why in other crimes, before they would arrest you, a lot would have gone under that you are not seen, you and I are not seen. And so they would have dotted their I's and crossed their T's.
All right.
That was in April.
That was in April.
Yeah, and we're following the issue right up until now. So with this delay by the Attorney General to press 4 charges and conclude this case, if Nigerians said that, because Nigerians actually said that the whole sting operation was political, would it be wrong to say they were not right?
No, a lot of people believed that the operation, because at that time the judiciary was not on trial. The judiciary was, a judgment was passed on the judiciary as a corrupt entity. And so Nigerians generally believed, a lot of people encouraged the government. But some of us said no.
Even lawyers like your colleagues, some senior colleagues actually condemned them as well.
Let's not encourage this impunity. There are better ways of doing the same thing and you would have achieved a better result. And I still maintain that position. And today, I'm vindicated because after all the noise that we made, till date, 8 months after, just 2 cases, and 1 had been acquitted. It shows
Which means
that
there is no case against
exactly. It shows that.
No, but you really can't tell. You really can't tell. It might be delayed.
And the court also said that, look, this is not even the proper way. Even if at all you say, okay, this man collected gifts, you ought to have charged him for breach of conduct. And so this is why, like I say, it is always better for you not to be hasty. Dot your I's and cross your T's. And so when you arrest, you have a prima facie case. But not this case, you arrest and try the person in the court of public opinion, and then quietly, you now say, okay, go back to your work. That person needs an apology, a public apology
and
from
some damages, really.
A lot of damages had been done to his reputation. Some don't recover from it. If you remember the case of Justice Ikomi in Den Bende State, he never recovered. He died. And so at the end of the day, you put, these people through such harrowing experience. Some of them definitely might be corrupt, but because you boggled the operation from the word go, you give them leeway. You're dealing with people who handle cases daily. And so they know the defense, they know the loopholes. And most especially when, everybody is not united on this issue.
Yeah.
But also, what I want to say, now we're saying this because we're talking about judges. There are so many Nigerians who are languishing in jail today pending DPP's advice. Some 2 years, some 3 years. A majority of these criminal cases are at the magistrate courts. And so I also would want the NJC to issue directives to judges and magistrates in matters where 3 months, maximum 5 months, there is no advice from the DPP's office, that person should be discharged. When the government is ready, they can come back and file charges.
That way you decongest the prison.
Exactly. With that way, you also decongest the prison and also help people, the DPP's office, to know that truly, there's work to be done. And not just sit down, you have advice that are waiting. In some cases, people now have to go and lobby for advice to come because they have somebody who's languishing in jail.
All right. The Liborous, those who were asked to go back to their office is one. Some others, 2 of them, were asked to go back to their duty post but put on a watch list. Justice Eswewe and Enebele, they are on that watch list. For Enebele, they said he granted an ex parte motion, really, and that affected someone not being able to have been sworn in as a member of River State House of Assembly. And tell us more what that means on the watch list.
And that's why I said that if you allow the people that are empowered to do this, you collaborate with them, you get better results. What the NJC has simply done now is to say, look, we have our eyes on you. We have our eyes on you. And so we don't have enough to nail you, but we are watching you. Further mistakes, we might just wrap it up and, you are gone. And so also the Supreme Court had consistently warned judges to mind the way they grant application ex parte. Most especially when there is no urgency in the matter. For a matter, somebody, for somebody who had won an election and is to be sworn in, another person brings an application challenging the outcome of that election, and the rules provides that you swear that person in if at the end of the day the court determines that the person sworn in did not win that election. There's room for appeal though, but that position can always be reversed, and the actual winner, we've seen election matters decided by courts here, and at the end of the day these persons are sworn in. But in a case of that nature, a judge will not wait to listen to the other party, and then you grant an order restraining INEC not to swear in that candidate. What it means, for people, they are going to look at what's the urgency here, and then also, because we know here that matters like this, there are always allegations of something had gone under, and so, but since they can't place their hand on it, what was the haste in you granting this ex parte application? Why? It would have just been easy to say, put the other party, I give you 7 days, put them on notice, both parties should come before me, and you argue why I should grant, the other party should argue why I shouldn't grant. Okay. So for that, the NJC, looked at the reasons, and that the fact that there was no urgency in the matter, but that is not enough, and so that's why they are saying, look, we are watching you. To put somebody on watch list means, look, be careful next time. We'll have our eyes on you, and not just to that judge. The fact that 2 judges are on watch list also sent a strong signal to other judges.
As far as you're a member under that umbrella.
Yes.
All right, now on this, when we talk about the ideals, the Attorney General has not been able to successfully charge these people to court yet. But if we have to look at the ideals, what's the window, what's the duration, how soon should he have done that?
First and foremost, there is no statute of limitation to criminal matters. Even an offense that was committed 100 years ago, and if fresh evidence comes to your notice this year, you can still charge that person if he's alive. And so, but the law says that once somebody is arrested, that you must charge that person to court within 48 hours. And when there is no court close by, then you have, a window of extension. Or in some cases, you now go to court to apply for extension to investigate. What they used to do was to hold that accused person or the suspect, using what they call holding charge. Okay. And the Supreme Court had ruled severally that holding charge is alien to our laws. If you have a case against somebody, charge him and not bring him to court to hold him down, and then you keep him in prison, and then you go fish for evidence against him. And so to that extent, that's why I said I would have expected that maximum 1 week, the Attorney General ought to have been ready, at least, with the noise that was made about the investigation. Or worst case, 14 days, 2 weeks. Files would have been exchanged. Parties would have looked into it, because we're talking about people's freedom here. And the court has also consistently maintained that it is better for 99 accused persons to go free than for one innocent person to be punished for an offense he did not commit. And that is why the Constitution talks about proving beyond reasonable doubt. Not all reasonable doubt, but beyond reasonable doubt. Any doubt that will come in the mind of, any doubt in the mind of the court should be resolved in the favor of the accused. And so any reasonable person that listens to your story, the only conclusion that will come to his mind is that this man actually committed the offense.
And the proof of evidence lies with the prosecution in any case. That is your job
it is not
as
for
a prosecutor.
it is not for you to prove your innocence. Otherwise, all we need to do is just raise allegation against somebody, and then he'll be running scatter to prove his innocence. It is he who asserts that must prove that truly a crime has been committed. And so if for 8 months, after asserting that the crime was committed, and 8 months you still don't have a prima facie case, you're still not in court, it means truly you don't have an... Okay,
Liborous, I think we're wrapping up very soon, but let's talk about the independence of the NJC. The Constitution is very clear, 153, 158 and all that, but it's not really absolute. They still need to make recommendation, explain to the president or to the governor, as the case may be, why and so person must be recused or sacked. And as we have seen this particular case now, where even the Attorney General and the DSS overriding the Constitution and going over the head of the NJC to act. How can the NJC be more independent and more assertive?
The problem we have in Nigeria is that the fact that if it's a government, people like, they can close their eyes to any impunity, and so that was what happened in that matter. The NJC cannot, fight for independence beyond what it is doing. Remember they came out with notices that, look, this is not within the powers of even the DSS. And then some people tried to trace it to the fact that it's an economic crime, depriving people of funds means that, it would affect the territorial integrity, it's a security threat. That these are not security matters. At worst, even there was a running battle between the EFCC and the DSS on who should have done, that operation. But at the end of the day, the NBA also has a big role to play in all of this. The National Assembly has a role also to play, because we had also asked that the NJC be expanded, because if you look at those sections you mentioned, the Chief Justice of the Federation has, wide powers in appointment of members of NJC. Almost 85% of the members are nominated by the Chief Justice of the Federation. And then they sit on ad hoc basis. There's need for us to have members who, retired judges who are not tired, also as members of the NJC.
To guide the activity.
Who will be able to sit, on regular basis to handle matters, petitions that come to NJCs, and then also to act, give proper supervisory role to the bench. And then NBA also needs to purge itself. NBA needs to purge itself to act as a proper watchdog, for the NJC, because as Lord Dennis said, when a judge sits on trial, the judge is on trial. And when you sit on trial, the entire world also is trying you. But the first line of charge of those trying you are the members of the bar, who sit regularly in your court. They should be able to say, yes, this is what transpired. Miscarriage of justice have been occasioned here, you know, and then when you have members of the NJC who are able to dispense of matters as they come, and then people, that confidence in the NJC also independently, you know, the confidence, first and foremost, you need to build the confidence, and then people can now begin to agitate for the solid independence because they have confidence in the judicial system. But when there is no confidence in the judicial system, people would be happy when there are interference. That's what basically, you know, is playing out here.
All right, Liborous Oshomah, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thanks for lending your voice here too.